I don't get paid to do this. I love doing this show, but the guys that make it happen are not as crazy as I am. So they need to be paid. And Mr. Trudeau has neither offered nor have we asked to be paid. So please, to keep independent analysis on the air, please donate and be generous. And thank you. John Capobianco is a vice president with FleishmanHillard HighRoad. That's a big PR company. He's also a very big shot conservative. And he joins me today because I want to put the question to you. We have, in North America in particular, people grasping to keep on to power. The Prime Minister, everybody wants him to go, including most liberals, new and old. And he says, I have to save democracy. Joe Biden, he can hardly spell his name these days. He was terrific, he did a great job and all this kind of stuff. But people are saying he's got to stay on because we have to save democracy. What's going on?
Well, what's going on, Stephen, is this. You're seeing a bunch of politicians, and specifically parties, that are low in the polls. And when they get low in the polls, they get desperate. So they try to grasp onto whatever they can in order to maintain the power, knowing that elections, both in the U.S. and in Canada, are within a year away. And in the case of the U.S., months away.
A few months.
So they try to determine and try to convince not only themselves, but try to convince Canadians that they're the ones that they should be keeping on in power. And in the case of our Prime Minister, he's using this whole thing about, well, democracy, we have to save democracy. You know, you're seeing what's happening in Europe with some of the far extreme right governments and political parties.
Britain.
Except for Britain,
Of
or a
course.
case which a big Labour majority win. But in other cases, you're seeing this, and so he's now reflecting on it, saying, well, see what's happening there, these extreme right wing. We can't let that happen here in Canada. Making the equation that, or trying to make the Canadians see that, well, Pierre Poilievre is that extreme right wing, and if he gets elected, he's going to determine or at least damage democracy, which is absolute bunk. But it's a level of desperation that when you get caught in the corner, you try to do everything you can, and if it's not spending more money, it's now a threat to democracy.
But is not the Prime Minister holding on against all the party members, against many MPs in his own party, against the Canadian people? Is that not a threat to democracy?
Well, so in fact, democracy is in fact what's happening now, which is the polls, Canadians are now reflecting on what they think is a good government or a bad government. And in the case of the Prime Minister and the Liberal Party, they're saying it's not working. It's not working for us anymore. In the case of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, we want to give them a shot. They're the ones that we think that they can get us out of this quagmire that we're in with respect to the economy and the cost of living and so forth. So that is democracy. But what the Prime Minister is trying to say is he's trying to circumvent that by saying, well, listen, he's going to be a threat to democracy because he's part of the extreme right as we're seeing in Europe, which is not the case at all here.
So if the Prime Minister really believed this, he'd say, let's have an election right now.
Well,
let's have democracy. Let's have an election.
In some cases, yes.
As opposed to, he can't stay on for another 17 months till the end of October 2025.
Yeah.
Because he's changed the dates a little bit to help his friends get some bigger pension. So have an election soon?
Well, I think as soon as possible. Canadians want one soon.
We want democracy. John Capobianco, thank you very much. 3 minutes. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.